Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome, my dear learners. This is a video for the subject of education, for the course of Bachelor's in Education, and for the paper of Educational Technology Part 2. This video lecture is based on the approaches of educational technology, and here we are going to discuss education system under the systems approach. This video lecture is recorded by Dr. Iram Khan. The course coordinator and the presenter of this video is Dr. Iram Khan from Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. The academic expert or the reviewer of this video is Professor Jasim Ahmed from Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. This video is produced under the project DTH Swayam Prabha Channels of Ministry of Education, Government of India. Hello dear students, I am Dr. Iram Khan, Assistant Professor at Institute of Advanced Studies in Education, Faculty of Education, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. Today we will be discussing a topic related to the approaches of educational technology, and the topic of today's discussion is based on the education system as one of the examples of the systems approach. So let us start the discussion first with the objectives. The objectives of this session are to discuss the structure of the education system, to elaborate the systems approach to education, and to describe the steps involved in the systems approach to education. When we talk about any of the systems, the education system can also be taken up for elaborating any of the man-made systems. It may also be taken as a subsystem of the society in itself. Basically, it can be read in totality. And if we try to make a representation of the educational system in a diagrammatic way, how we can do it? You can just see on the screen that in a system we all know that there is an input, then the process, and then the output, and the surrounding environment or the environmental context is something which is surrounding all this processes, or you can say that this input and the process and the output. So what exactly we see here in the education system as the input? Basically the students, the administration, the teachers, all the studying material or the reading material or whatever resources we have got in the form of materials for the formal or the informal education. So all these are considered to be the input. Then what exactly is considered to be the process? Basically the formal or informal education process, whatever happens in the in due course of the education, uh, either it should be a formal system or the informal system. All these processes, the process of teaching, the process where curricular and co-curricular activities take place, all these come under the category of the process. What is the output? When the student attains the educational objectives, which are actually stipulated and in the beginning itself. Once the student attains all those educational objectives, those students can be considered as the output of that particular education system. And the environment in which this entire process takes place, that is something which actually makes an impact on the process. So if the environment is better, everything is conducive in nature, then we can see that we can get the better results of the process of education in the form of the output, which is the student who attains all those educational objectives which are set in the beginning by the people who are actually designing the system of education. And this can be seen in any of the institutions at any level. So this is something which actually informs us that education system can be considered to be the best example of a system where you can actually see the systems approach and the steps of systems approach, all the processes of systems approach happening in a very proper way. So when we talk about the school system, on the same way as we have talked about the other institutions, or maybe in case of any office or any factory, in case of the school system also we can find that there are many subsystems, and this school system can be basically either a formal education system where the education is imparted in an educational institution, and this can be treated as a subsystem of the education system, or a system which is basically complete, or you can say that there is everything which is the part of this system, so it is complete in itself. When we talk about the instruction, we can see that this system, or the school system, may have the instructional um, and co-instructional system as another subsystem. What exactly it means? When we talk about the instruction, it is related with the cognitive development of the students. And when we talk about the co-instructional system, basically it is related with the development of the abilities, the skills, the game, all those activities which we ask our students to do when they are in the school, which is other than the academics. So all those co-curricular activities, they are also the part of the curriculum. That is why we never ever say that uh, that is something which can be done after the school. Basically all these activities, games, yoga, physical education, then art and craft, and all those other things which are useful to enhance the skills and the abilities of a child, all these things are now the part of the curriculum itself. So all these can be seen that even the academics and all those other curricular activities, maybe one can be considered to be the instructional and the other can be considered to be the co-instructional activities or the systems. They may exist and function in a very independent but in a very complete way in the school system, and you can find them taking a place of a subsystem. So the instructional subsystem and the co-instructional subsystem, they all these two subsystems basically work independently and as a complete system in their own, and they basically uh, become the major, and you can say the compulsory part of a school system. So what is the system's approach to education? We have also seen that even in the earlier part of the lecture, we have emphasized that the system approach refers to a well thought technique or a rational approach for making any kind of change in the system, where we are trying to design, control, and use a system for realizing the system objectives in the best possible way. All these objectives are stipulated in the beginning itself. Now, its application in the field of education will surely make the system of education very much self-sustained, self-maintaining, with its basic parameters which are operating in a very scientific way on the principles of the feedback, and also to bring the equilibrium in the system. So whenever we try to run a system in a proper way, we have to see that what exactly will be the balancing act, and also we have to take care of that if there is a feedback which we are getting from the stakeholders, whether this feedback is properly taken up or is adapted or in the system or not. So as a result, the system's approach to education is likely to solve various educational problems which are related with the organization and also the management of all the processes and also the products of the education. And we have seen that what are the processes and what are the products. We are now understood, like when we talk about the process of education, all those things which happen in the school or in the organization, those teaching activities, all those instructional activities, curricular and co-curricular activities, everything basically become the part of the process. And then when we talk about the products, the students who actually, once they are uh, coming out of the system, of this educational system, they should be attaining all the stipulated educational objectives. When we then only we can say that these students are now the output of the system in which they were actually entered, or they were the part of, and they were the input at one point, but now after attaining and after going through the entire process, they have attained all the stipulated objectives, and now they become the products of education. So this is somehow the way in which we can explain that how the systems approach in education actually works. So the purpose which is served by the systems approach in education, if we try to pinpoint those purposes, how we can do, let us do and let us try to make a list of all those purposes. So the first purpose can be that it can effectively improve the instructional system. So when we talk about the instructional system, comes to that what academics are actually going on, how the teacher is uh, teaching, how the entire system is working. So if we are following a proper system, then we can see that an effective and improved instructional system can be seen in the school or college or any level of education. Then it can bring efficiency in the school administration and management, because when there is a system which is very much in working state, then you can find that everything comes on the way will be systematically addressed. So all the issues which are related to the administration, to the management, they will either not occur, or if they occur, they can be solved by the people who are responsible for solving those in a very proper way, because everything is systematically taken up. Then systems approach, or maybe you can say following an approach which is very much systematic, can help in seeking the maximum effective utilization of the human resources and also the material resources who are combinedly constituting this entire system of education. So all the resources, either the human or the material, they all will be utilized in the best possible way if we are following a proper system. Then a systematic educational planning, either it can be an institutional planning, or uh, when we plan even at the regional or national level, this educational planning can become systematic, and the system can be seen in terms of the achievement of long range goals and also the specific short range objectives. Because when we are following a system, we will keep an eye that how we are going to achieve all those long term objectives or the short term objectives. And so the long term goals and the short term objectives both can be achieved even at the institutional level or the regional level or the national level, if we are following the educational planning in a very systematic way. It will be easier for us to achieve all these goals and objectives. Then the systems approach may help in improving the examination and evaluation system also, because if everything goes on systematically, then the process of evaluation and in a conventional system we do the evaluation by the means of examination, term and exam, or maybe a unit test, or maybe a summative final exam. So all these examinations are basically the part of the evaluation system. So following a systems approach is also helpful in terms of improving the examination and the evaluation system inside the educational institution. We can also find the improvement happening in the organization of all those co-curricular activities and other educational aspects of bringing any type of the effective or value-based developmental aspects in the students. When we follow the systems approach, when we follow a system, we can find that the value-based education, the education which actually works on developing the affective domain of the children, that can also be addressed. And there are these co-curricular activities, the activities which are actually done as the part of the curriculum, they help in developing all those values, morals, and uh, the the best possible attributes in our children. The systems approach may help in maintaining, controlling, and improving the guidance services to the school, because guidance, provision of providing some sort of counseling and guidance services is also now the part of the educational system. And career counseling, or maybe if the child is finding any sort of difficulty in studying, or any issue related to the daily life problems, we in the schools, in the educational system, try to provide guidance and counseling to our students. So if we follow a proper system in the school, we will be in a position to manage those type of issues too. Then the systems approach, the following of the systems approach in education may also help in the improving of the training and development programs, or uh, where we are talking about the CPD, or the continuous professional development of our teachers. This can happen at both levels. We can find this happening in the pre-service level and even in the in-service level. So if we follow a proper system, the rotation should be seen, or we can also see that if there is a course which is very good for our teachers, the administration should ask the teachers to go and get the course. Maybe leaves can be given where the teacher can full-fledgedly pursue that course, so that the teacher can enhance her skills. So if we follow a proper system, then we can even improve the training and the development programs for our teachers, and we can move towards creating good teachers who have got the continuous professional development and who are motivated towards teaching, uh, and who can actually work hard on making them an effective teacher in a proper way. Then if we follow the systems approach in education, it may prove an invaluable means for designing, controlling, and improving the systems of non-informal or the adult education. Because that is again the forte which the educational institutions have to see when we try to see that how the society is uh, getting, like how if there is a school and there is a surrounding society and there are many people who are not um, able to read or write, the school teachers, even the students, can help the elders to study. And in most of the schools, we can see that there is a adult education center where in evening the people come and they sit and they try to learn, they try to become literate. So if we follow a system, we can also participate in those type of activities, and we can improve the society in a best possible manner. And over and above the following of a system in this process of education, actually it can render valuable services in improving the quality of education in all its aspects and dimensions. Because when we are systematic in whatever we are doing, we don't find any kind of time lapse or any cumbersome task, or which we can't do, because we are doing everything on time. We are disciplined, we are trying to manage all those things which we need to do on the time on which it should be done. Then what happens, that everything becomes in a, like, everything goes on in a flow, and that flow is something which is very much required, because then things will become smooth. Every activity will become smooth. Either we take a perspective of a teacher or an employer or maybe a student. So if we are systematic, if we are following all the schedules, everything is done in on time, then we can see that uh, a distinctive or a proper positive change can be seen over the time in that particular institution or organization. So following a system, or maybe you can say that the systems approach used to be very helpful if we follow it in a proper way in any of the educational or any of the other type of institution. So let us see what are the different steps involved in the systems approach to education. Basically, in this particular point, we want to see that if we are trying to employ a system inside a school or in an educational institution, what can be the different steps? So, generally, in adopting the systems approach for the solution of the problems in education, we can follow few of these steps. The first step can be to identify the problem, because we are applying this step in order to solve the problem. So the first thing should be that we have to identify the problem. The second step is to specify the objectives. What are these the objectives which we want to fulfill at the end? So that set of objectives are to be specified in the beginning itself, after the identification of the problem. Then the third step is to analyze or making the analysis of the task which is involved in achieving the objectives. Then we have to make the systems analysis, where analysis of the input and the constraints of the system in the context of the stipulated objectives is done. So we try to analyze, we try to make a kind of analysis of this entire system, so that we can find that what are those loopholes where we have to work on. What are those areas where there are constraints, whether it is in the input or it is in the process, why we are not in a position to get the right output. We even check that whether everything is fine with the environment. So this is the fourth step, which is the system analysis. Fifth step is the system design and development. And in this step, we basically try to see that what are the things which we have got as a result in the systems analysis. What are those things which we are doing wrong? So for those particular strategies which we are doing in a wrong way, we try to generate alternative strategies. Either we need to change the input, or we need to see that what are the process changes which are required. Like, what are the changes which are required in the process, or what are the constraints which are there, because of those constraints the process is not working in a proper way. So we need to get the alternative strategies in this step, which is known as the system design and the development stage or step. The next step is the identification of the preferred solution in a given context, because there may be many solutions, but we need to identify, we need to pick and choose the more preferred solution, the best possible solution in the given context. Then the operation and implementation of that particular chosen or preferred solution is done. After this, evaluation of the effectiveness of the performance of that particular operation which we have actually implied, basically in terms of the stipulated specific objectives, is done. So we need to evaluate that whatever alternative strategies or the solutions which we have applied here in order to get or in order to achieve the stipulated objectives, whether all these objectives are now attained or not. So this is the stage of evaluation of the effectiveness of the performance of that preferred solution in terms of the specified objectives. And then we go for providing the feedback. And this feedback is provided in the light of the evaluation for bringing necessary improvement and modification in the system. So these are all the steps which we have to follow if we want to make changes or if we want to solve the problem or which is found in any of the educational system or in any of the other type of systems. Let us try to recapitulate what we have studied today. We have seen that education is somehow considered to be a man-made system, and systems approach to education is likely to solve various educational problems which are related to the organization, to the management, and many more things related to the process and products of education. Generally, in adopting systems approach in education, a person or the group of people are requested to take various steps. And we have seen all those steps. The first step can be the identification of the problem. Then we can go for the specification of the specific objectives. Then we can go for analysis of the task for that particular task which is involved in achieving the objectives. And after this, we can go for the analysis or the systems analysis. And analysis is done for the input and even for the constraints of the system in the context of the stipulated objectives. And after doing the analysis, we can go for the system design and development. And we go for designing the system by generating alternative strategies. And we can make changes in various aspects, like we can make a change in the input or in the process or the constraints which are found even in the environmental context. Then identification of the preferred solution in a given context is actually done, and after that operation and implementation of the preferred solution which we have actually identified is done. After that, evaluation of the effectiveness of the performance in terms of the specified objectives basically is done, and the last step is to provide the feedback in the light of the evaluation for bringing necessary improvement and modification. So in this way, we actually implement the systems approach for the sake of solving any of the problems related to education inside any institution or maybe in any organization. When we try to imply this systems approach, we need to follow these steps, and after following these steps, we can see that we can make we can bring considerable changes and better kind of system in the education which is being imparted at various levels. So this was all about today. We will see each other in another session another time. But before taking a leave, so these are few of those references and the suggested further readings which you can also go ahead and learn, uh, and you can read more through the use of these books and material, and you can sharpen your skills related to the application of systems approach in any of the systems, like here we talked about the education system. So this is all for today, and let us meet with each other in another session another time. Thank you so much. Dear students, you are watching a video related to the approaches of educational technology, and in this lecture we discuss the education system under the systems approach. This video lecture was recorded by faculty at home during the homebound situation of COVID-19 pandemic using minimal technical resources. Technical errors, if any, are unintentional and may please be ignored. For any queries with regard to this lecture or broadcast, kindly send your email to techsupport@dth.ac.in. Thank you so much.